Anonymous nurse.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Much appreciated your coming. I'd offered a suggestion a short time ago, speak out, and those nurses that can't speak out. The police officers should be coming forward and reading the letter that nurses write but can't say. And that nurses should come up here and read the letters that police officers can't speak out. That way you can protect yourself. So I'm here to read you a letter that was given to me by an active duty nurse who cannot speak for herself. And then I'm going to say a few words of my own. We are nurses. We are required to lead with critical thinking and evidence-based practice and research. We are required to be advocates. We are taught to think and lead with emotional intelligence. We are expected to uphold the highest standards. We are required to lead with ethical standards, and we are supposed to be compassionate. But nurses today are not doing that. We are not adhering to our highest standards of practice, and I'm ashamed of what nursing has become. We are the front line in keeping our patients safe. Are we keeping them safe by keeping them from their families and nursing homes where people live their last days, all to die alone, stuffed away and treated like they have no right while they are paying for their health care? Families have a right to visit their loved ones in the hospital or in a nursing home. Our compassion is lost when this has become normalized. When a man cannot see his own wife as they are kept apart for a year, please tell me how this is okay. When loved ones cannot touch, see, or feel their loved one while they are dying, they see through an electronic device. Tell me how this is okay. We all know it is not okay. It's unethical. We normalize mask wearing. We impose this on our patients and visitors. We have forced some healthcare workers to be PCR tested every week, sometimes more frequently to maintain their jobs. Healthcare workers test nursing home residents and families prior to visiting without a choice. When we know that PCR testing is limited in its accuracy, we know it doesn't specifically isolate any virus, yet it's an invasive procedure which directly violates Section 14.1 of the Quarantine Act. We swab patients without their knowledge upon admissions to hospital settings. The government expects parents to take your healthy child to get tested and traumatized. This is unethical. Yet we are violating people's rights knowingly or unknowingly, but in our hearts, we know it is unethical. It's normalized now, and if you rise up and question these issues because they go against our standards of practices as nurses, our governing body wants to silence us. That in itself is unethical. We are silenced. Silenced if we critically think, read the research, and question the practices of public health. Our current nursing practice, which is not to our current standards. Silence and lose our jobs if we don't just go along. We no longer lead with evidence-based practices in place. There is no science or data to back what is currently being done. We are upheld by the CNO. CNO's purpose is to ensure we are practicing by our evidence-based best practices. Why are they not doing that now? Have they been corrupted by the current narrative, which goes against what we are taught as nurses? We are no longer advocating with our patients' best interests at heart. We are also infringing on their rights, forcing the wearing of masks, whether they have an exemption or not, including visiting families. We still violate Section 14.1 of the Quarantine Act, performing invasive COVID swabbing upon admissions with no consent. Nurses don't agree with what is happening in this one-sided narrative. There are a few of us that haven't been turned into brainwashed sheep. We are afraid. We are afraid to speak. We are afraid to stand up. We are afraid to properly advocate for our patients. We are afraid to lose our jobs. We worry about whether we will be forced to put an experimental biologic in our bodies to maintain our employment. We are afraid we will be coerced when we know there is no long-term safety data, yet most are deeming it safe on patients, including nurse practitioners and some doctors. Doctors are also silenced. Their college will reprimand them if they speak out. The fear-mongering and the bullying needs to end. We should not have to fear speaking up for what is right just because it doesn't fit in with the global narrative that's taking us down a dark and narrow path. This is Canada, land of the free. We all need to stand together. If we do, we can put an end to this tragedy of lies and inhumanity. Stand for your country, end COVID-19 tyranny. Take your masks off, fight for your children, and live your lives the way you intend. Now, what I would like to add to that is that the nurses that are silenced by this agency also reflects other groups within society. Let's not forget about our pastors and how they are being silenced by having their churches closed. Let's not forget about our teachers who are being silenced, our police officers who wish to speak out but are being silenced. My background as a Ontario Provincial Police officer, now retired of 32 years service, has seen 32 years of investigative experience, some of that time in forensic investigations. And I can tell you, you don't spend that much time in policing determining lies and corruption and revealing truth to bring into courts to prosecute crime without seeing and smelling what is going on now. You really need to be blind, deaf, and dumb to not understand what is going on. And I will say to all of those professionals and individuals, including everyone here that understands what is going on, has had an opportunity to look at the data. When we talk about being silenced, you are silenced like taking the batteries out of your smoke alarms. It's not a safe thing to do. They are there for a specific reason. And we need to have the ability to alert and warn before it's too late. So my message to this organization is put the batteries back in and let these people speak.
Do this. Where? Okay, I'm technically challenged, all right? You know? I'm like a bad cold, I don't go away. Guys, I forgot to mention our website and how you can follow us, right? So if anybody's interested, we're on Facebook at Police on Guard for Thee, and our website is policeonguard.ca. So if any of you know any police officers, military, law enforcement that aren't happy with what's happening in our country, please tell them about our group. I have some contact business cards here if you want. You can